You want to rise. You want to achieve great heights, to be powerful, to be untouchable. But before you can rise, you must be rooted, just like a tree. The tallest trees you see, those that reach the sky, they are not strong because of their branches or their leaves. They are strong because of their roots, hidden beneath the ground, silent, unseen by most. But that is where their power begins. So too must you begin beneath the surface. You cannot build greatness on shaky ground. If your foundation is weak, if your beliefs are borrowed, your principles unclear, your purpose undefined, then every challenge will expose your cracks. A single insult will shake you. A small failure will break you. You will be moved by every emotion, bent by every opinion, tossed around by every change. Strength does not begin with the body. It begins with the self. You must ask, what do I stand for? What will I not compromise? What drives me when no one is watching? This is the soil from which all your actions must grow. It is not glamorous work. No one will applaud you for doing it. But it is the most vital work there is. The problem is, most people want to skip straight to the rise. They want recognition without clarity. They want results without self-awareness. But what happens when the storm comes? Because it will come. Pressure will test you. Life will shake you. And if you are not rooted, you will fall. Quickly, loudly, and completely. When I was beginning, I thought power came from skill alone, from speed, from technique, from impact. But the more I trained, the more I realized, without a steady center, skill turns to show and power turns to noise. That's why you must begin within. Every time you meditate, every time you reflect, every time you act with intention rather than impulse, you are growing roots. You are anchoring yourself deeper. And the deeper you go, the freer you become. You stop reacting to everything. You start choosing. You're not pulled by every emotion. You stand firm in storms, not because storms stop coming, but because you are no longer moved by them. You don't just survive pressure. You use it. Understand this. Your greatest weapon is not your punch, your speed, or your knowledge. It is your stillness. It is the depth of your being. When your core is strong, when your roots are deep, nothing can truly shake you. Not fear, not failure, not the world. Your core is your truth. And if you do not know your truth, you will always be wearing someone else's mask. Many people live their entire lives performing roles, trying to be what others want, saying what they think is expected, chasing approval like it is oxygen. But underneath all of that performance, there is a silence, a self that is waiting to be seen. That is where your strength lives. Not in the surface, but in what lies beneath. To build an unshakable core, you must strip away the illusions. The titles, the labels, the borrowed ideas, they must go. You have to unlearn just as much as you learn. You must dare to ask, is this truly mine, or did I just accept it without question? Because if you build your life on a lie, even a beautiful lie, it will crumble when tested. But if you build on truth, your truth, nothing can move you. This is not easy. The world is full of noise. It constantly tells you who to be, what to value, what success should look like. And it is tempting to follow it because it's easier. It feels safer to blend in than to stand alone. But blending in is not the path of strength. It's the path of imitation. You were not born to copy others. You were born to express something original, yourself. So begin the process of peeling back the layers. Observe your thoughts, examine your beliefs, feel which ones resonate deep in your bones, and which ones feel hollow when no one is watching. Let go of the ones that don't belong to you. It will feel like losing parts of yourself, but what you're actually losing are the chains. You're clearing away the dust so the core can shine. When you speak from that place, when your actions reflect your inner truth, there is a different energy in you. People feel it, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're not trying at all. You are simply being, and nothing is more powerful than a person who is unapologetically themselves, who no longer needs validation to feel whole. The mind must be clear, not filled with clutter or pretense. Truth requires space, It cannot exist in a crowded room of expectations. Empty yourself. Be simple. Be real. When your inside matches your outside, there is no tension, no conflict. You move with ease because there's no pretending. That is how you become unshakable. Not by adding more, but by removing the false. What remains is you, the real you, solid, calm, centered. You don't have to force strength when you live from truth, as you simply become it. Discipline is the spine of the core. Without it, your intentions are soft, your focus scattered, and your strength easily broken. You may have talent, you may have potential, but if you are not consistent, if you are not sharp in your practice, you are nothing more than a dull blade. It is discipline that hones the edge. It is the quiet repetition, the deliberate struggle, the daily effort. These are the things that build real strength. Many people misunderstand discipline. They see it as a restriction, as something that takes away freedom. But that is because they do not understand freedom. True freedom does not come from doing whatever you feel like. True freedom comes from mastering yourself. If you are a slave to comfort, if you are ruled by your moods, if you only move when you feel inspired, then you are not free. You are controlled. Discipline breaks that control. It allows you to act with intention, not just reaction. When you train every day, not just your body but your mind and your emotions, you are telling yourself, I am the one in command here, not the weather, not the circumstances, not the emotions that rise and fall. Me, the one at the center. That is what strengthens the core, not just physical movement, but the discipline to stay the course when it's boring, when it's difficult, when no one is watching. People want the results, but they try to avoid the repetition. They want strength without effort, clarity without reflection, greatness without routine. That's not how it works. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you can become. It doesn't shout, it doesn't show off, but it leaves its mark on everything you do. The way you speak, the way you move, the way you face difficulty, all of it reflects whether you've trained your center or not. You cannot wait for motivation. You must train when you're tired. You must show up when it's raining. You must practice not only when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. That is when the real core is forged, in the moments you don't want to continue, but you do anyway. Each small act of discipline is a vote for your future self. It's a signal to your core. I am steady. I am here. I do not drift. And over time, that repetition becomes identity, not because you're trying to become someone else, but because you're sharpening the parts of yourself that were always there, waiting to be revealed. You're shaping the edge, pressing it into form, until one day you realize you no longer have to think about being strong. You simply are. If you live for approval, you will die by rejection. The moment you depend on others to define your worth, you have given away your power. And once your value is in their hands, you will constantly chase, constantly perform, constantly adjust yourself to fit into frames that were never made for you. That is not strength, that is captivity. You must become your own standard. There is a difference between feedback and validation. Feedback is useful. It helps you grow. Validation, on the other hand, is a trap when it becomes your source of identity. If you're always asking, was that good enough? Did they like it? Am I accepted? Then your center is not solid. You are building your house on sand, and the moment the tide changes, it will collapse. When you are ruled from the outside, even your victories feel hollow. You accomplish something, but instead of feeling grounded, you wonder who noticed. You look around before you look within, and slowly you lose touch with your own compass. You start to dim your voice to match the room. You stop following your instincts because you don't want to make waves. And piece by piece, your strength fades, not because it left you, but because you handed it away. To build an unshakable core, you must learn to be your own mirror. You must know when you've done well, even when no one says it. You must correct yourself in silence, not because others demand it, but because you demand it of yourself. That kind of self-direction is rare, but it is where all real mastery begins, because once you are no longer fueled by applause, you can move freely. Your decisions become clean. Your actions are deliberate, not performative. It's not arrogance to believe in yourself. It's responsibility. It's knowing that your life is yours to shape and your values are yours to uphold. Others will have opinions. That's their right, but they do not get to write your story. You write it. And when your internal voice becomes stronger than the noise around you, you stop needing permission to exist as you are. Do not measure yourself by shifting standards. The world is always changing, always arguing over what matters. If you try to follow all of it, you will be lost. Decide what is important to you. Define your principles. Then align your life to them, no matter who agrees. That is how you create a center that cannot be moved. And when you operate from that place, people feel it. Not because you're loud, but because you're real. You're no longer performing. You're simply living, not trying to impress, just expressing. That's what it means to lead from within. That's what it means to be unshakable. The core is not built in noise. It is not formed in the crowd, in applause, in the spotlight. It is built in silence, in the quiet spaces where no one is watching, no one is clapping, and no one is giving you direction. That is where you meet yourself. That is where you confront your weakness, your habits, your fears, and that is where you shape your strength. People often fear silence. They fill their days with distractions, constantly surrounding themselves with stimulation, music, voices, screens, conversations, never allowing themselves to sit still. But stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is presence. It is the space where clarity rises and falsehood falls away. When you learn to sit with silence, you learn to hear your own voice without the world telling you who to be. In silence, there is no one to impress. There is nothing to prove. It is just you. And that is why it is powerful. Because the person you pretend to be cannot survive there. Only the truth remains. That truth may be uncomfortable at first. You may not like what you find. You may see the gaps, the doubts, the flaws, but do not turn away. That is your material. That is where the real work begins. You train your body with repetition. You train your mind with focus. But your core, your essence, is trained with silence. In the quiet, you learn patience. You learn discipline. You learn how to endure the long path without reward, without recognition. And that ability to stay steady when no one is looking, that is the mark of someone who is truly grounded. It's easy to look strong when people are watching, but that strength is thin if it disappears the moment attention fades. Real strength is private. It is built in early mornings when the world is still sleeping. It is shaped in long nights when no one checks on you. It is developed in those moments when quitting would be easy, but you choose not to. Not because anyone will praise you, but because you refuse to betray yourself. Most people chase visibility. They want to be seen, to be known. But before you can be seen clearly, you must know who you are in the dark. You must walk through your solitude and come out with a sense of self that doesn't depend on the light. When you do that, you bring something rare into the world, a presence that is quiet, but undeniable. So do not run from the silence. Step into it, embrace it. Let it strip away what is false and sharpen what is true. Let it prepare you in the way only silence can. Because when you are calm within, the chaos outside can no longer shake you. Emotion is not your enemy. Emotion is energy. It's movement. It's life. But that energy must be directed, not denied. Most people either let emotion control them, or they try to suppress it completely. Neither way leads to strength. The path is not to run from what you feel, nor to be ruled by it. The path is to harness it through your core. Anger, fear, sorrow. These emotions have power. They arise from real places. When anger comes, it is because something matters. When fear shows up, it is because risk is present. When sorrow enters, it is because something was loved. These emotions are signals, but signals do not have to be commands. Just because the fire burns inside you doesn't mean it has to burn through everything around you. The difference lies in where you hold the energy. If it sits on the surface, if it lives in your hands, your voice, your reaction, it will control your behavior. But if you center it, if you pull it into your core, it becomes fuel. It no longer lashes out. It focuses in. That's when it becomes useful. You feel it fully, but it moves through intention, not impulse. There's power in that kind of presence. People can sense it. You're not emotionless. You're precise. You're not cold. You're composed. You haven't turned your emotions off. You've learned how to carry them without being carried away by them. That kind of control doesn't come from denial. It comes from deep awareness, from practice, from a centered mind that knows how to breathe through the waves rather than drown in them. And it's not about perfection. It's not about never feeling shaken. It's about shortening the time between reaction and response. You get angry, but instead of exploding, you observe it. You ask, what is this really about? You don't let it hijack your decisions. You don't let it steer your life. Instead, you take that energy and put it where it counts, into movement, into expression, into clarity. The world will test you. People will provoke you. You will face moments where emotion surges, uninvited and strong. That's the test. Not whether you feel it, but whether you remain rooted in the feeling or get swept away by it. You can scream or you can speak. You can flail or you can strike. The difference is whether the core is in charge or the surface. The stronger your core, the more emotion you can carry without losing your form. And when that happens, your power becomes clean. It becomes centered. And in that state, even the strongest emotion becomes a tool, not a threat. Rigidity is weakness in disguise. The more fixed you are in your ways, the easier you are to break. True strength doesn't come from being hard. It comes from knowing when to be soft. It comes from understanding that adaptability is not compromise. It is intelligence. It is survival. It is power in motion. When your core is strong, you don't need to force your shape on the world. You shape yourself to meet it. Look at water. Water flows. It moves around obstacles, bends through narrow spaces, falls and rises without resistance. But do not mistake its softness for weakness. It can wear down stone. It can carve through mountains. That is the kind of strength you must develop. Not rigid, not brittle, but fluid, centered, and unstoppable. When you meet resistance in life, it is not always meant to be fought. Sometimes it is meant to be understood. If you hit back at everything that opposes you, you will exhaust yourself. Not every challenge is an enemy. Not every change is a threat. The unshakable core is not about standing still. It is about being rooted while you move. It's about staying true to your principles while your actions evolve. You can be firm in your values and still flexible in your methods. You don't have to cling to a single way of doing things just because it's familiar. Growth demands that you let go of what no longer serves you. That takes courage. It takes clarity. But it also takes the kind of confidence that only comes from knowing who you are. When your core is solid, you can shift on the surface without losing your essence. Most people fear change because they fear losing control, but you don't have to control everything. You just have to control yourself. When things don't go according to plan, you adapt. When the path is blocked, you find another. When the world moves, you move with it. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You're not trying to force your will onto everything. You're listening, responding, flowing, and through that flow, you conserve your energy and multiply your power. This is not about being passive. It is about being strategic. You don't fight every battle. You don't resist for the sake of resisting. You choose your moments. You let go when needed. You shift when it's time. And because of that, you last. You endure. You rise while others fall. Not because you were harder, but because you were smarter. To live this way, your center must be stable. Because if you try to be flexible without a core, you become lost. You blend into everything and stand for nothing. But when your center is strong, your flexibility becomes your edge. You become like water with a rock inside it, calm on the surface but immovable within. If your strength depends on what you have, then you are not strong. If your confidence is built on praise, position, or possessions, then it is borrowed, not earned. And what is borrowed can always be taken back. You cannot build an unshakable core on things that change, things that fade, things that can be stripped away. The core must come from something deeper, something no one can touch but you. Life will take from you. That is not a possibility. It is a guarantee. You will lose people. You will lose opportunities. You will lose parts of yourself that once felt permanent. If your identity is tied to those things, you will fall apart when they're gone. But if your strength comes from within, if you've built it through discipline, truth, silence, and adaptability, then nothing outside can ever destroy you. You must stop tying your worth to the things around you. Stop saying, I am successful because they admire me, or I am strong because I have this role, this title, this recognition. All of that is temporary. It may serve you for a while, but it can't carry you forever. And the moment it disappears, if your foundation was built on it, you will crumble with it. You need to ask yourself, if everything I have was gone tomorrow, who would I be? Could I still stand? Could I still move with confidence, speak with clarity, live with purpose? Or would I be lost, searching for an identity in the ashes? These are hard questions, but they lead you to your real center. They strip away the surface so you can begin to build something real. When you live from the core, you are not shaken by loss. You are revealed through it. Because the core is what remains when everything else is stripped away. It is the part of you that doesn't need to be seen to be real, doesn't need to be validated to be alive. It is the fire that stays lit in darkness, the quiet force that doesn't fade with applause. And when you've built that, truly built it, you are no longer threatened by change. You are not fragile. You don't fear letting go. You've become whole in yourself, and that wholeness is your shield. It allows you to move through life with freedom, not because everything is certain, but because you are certain in yourself. Others may chase security in things, but you will know the truth. Real security is built from the inside out. You do not need the world to hand you strength. You create it. You earn it. You become it. And once you do, no one can take it from you.